the release of the first Dirty Harry film in 1971, the character of Dirty Harry was labelled a fascist in some quarters, particularly by renowned film critic Pauline Kael. That criticism directly fed into the sequel, and in this film, Magnum Force, Dirty Harry goes up against some fascist pigs, and I mean that in the sense that they were cops. These guys are cops. The film basically plays as a statement to the audience that, hey, you know what? If you think Harry is a fascist, wait till you see these guys. Harry's fascism is a brand that serves a purpose. It's a brand that we as an audience can kind of get behind. We see him as a deliverer of justice. His motives are always coming from the right place, even though his actions are somewhat unorthodox. Whereas the guys he's going up against in this film, they're not the same, even though in many ways they are. What I will say about this film that is a big step up from the first one is the stunts and the action in general. Now, Buddy Van Horn did some direction on this film, although he is uncredited. Now, he's a stuntman, and he went on to work with Clint Eastwood throughout his career. He's done tons of stunt work in Clint Eastwood movies. And I think that's very evident. I think his direction is very evident within the action sequences of this film. Now, it's Ted Post who is credited as the main director in this, well, as the only director, but you can definitely tell that Buddy Van Horn is there in the background, making sure that the action that we see on screen hits hard. And oh boy, does it hit hard. One thing that does surprise me about this film, as with the first one, is just how violent it is. Now, when I think about violence in the 70s and when people talk about violence in cinema and they refer back to the 70s, I don't tend to think of it as that violent. When you look at the kind of films we have today, the likes of Saw and Hostel and whatnot. But going back and watching this film, it is actually still incredibly violent. And there are some, like I say, real bursts of action that kind of get the adrenaline pumping, but because of the amount of violence that's on there. There's one scene in which Harry basically slams his car into one of these guys riding a motorbike, and you see it hit him full on, and yeah, this guy gets just torn up like a rag doll. But it really lends weight and heft to these action sequences. I feel like in many ways this film in the series, and I can't comment about the rest of them yet because I've not seen them, but definitely more so than the first one, it feels very influenced from Bond. It feels like it's drawing influences from the Bond franchise, even through the opening gun barrel sequence. We don't get Harry coming on and turning towards the camera, we just get his gun. And I think that's because, yeah, that is a play on Bond in many ways. It's just that the gun, that Magnum, is so symbolic of who Harry is. We don't need to see him. We don't need to see him do the walk on and then turn to screen. We just need to see his gun do it. So yeah, that opening sequence does feel very much influenced by Bond. And to some extent the villains do as well. They're very kind of larger than life villains. And because there's a group of them, an organisation, it does have that kind of Blofeld mastermind leading a crew of degenerates feel about it that doesn't feel too far removed from Bond. And again, Harry himself, some of the things he does in this now just feel a little bit more over the top, say, than even the first film. We get a sequence when he goes on board this plane, this passenger jet that has been hijacked, and he goes on there to take down these hijackers, and it just feels, again, feels like Bond. I do feel like that influence is all over the film, given the period, but hey-ho, for the most part, it works. Now, there are some scenes that kind of drag, that scene on the plane being one of them. I feel like that could have been shorter. I don't get why Harry goes so far into the plane before taking one of these guys down. I feel like he could have moved a bit quicker on that one. And some of the way it's shot sometimes just feels... you could have tightened it up. The editing could have been a lot tighter. I feel like the focus of this film isn't quite as well done as the first one. I feel like there's a lot of strands all over the place. They do gel, they do come together, but I think as reflected in the higher running time, I feel like it's not quite as tight as that first film. I also feel like some of the twists along the way, you kind of see them coming a mile off, really. And I feel like the red herring of Harry's friend in the Force, who's kind of set up it in a way to be the, oh, is it him? Is he the one? Is he the dodgy cop going around killing people? You know it isn't. And when these 4 other guys are introduced, you definitely know it isn't. So yeah, I see that coming a mile off. I don't know if that's just because of how this film has influenced many others throughout the years and now it kind of loses some of that originality. But yeah, I see a lot of the twists and turns coming. However, that does not stop this film being highly enjoyable. Like I say, Clint Eastwood is back with his charisma, his movie star-like charm, and the action sequences, once again, I must say, are a definite standout in this film. Hal Holbrook as well is really good. I like Hal Holbrook, but I'm used to seeing him play nice guys, nice old men. I'm not used to seeing his earlier work. So yeah, I see him in a different light in this film, and that's a positive. All in all, Magnum Force is a really damn good sequel to what is already a really great original. I think it's not quite as good as that original, like I say, because of a few of the comments I've mentioned here. But as far as sequels go, they don't really get much better. You know, if you're almost on a par with the original, you're doing pretty well. And this is doing pretty well. So yeah, 4 out of 5 from me. But what about you? Have you seen Magnum Force? And if so, what do you think about it? Comment below, let me know. And until next time, thanks for watching.